In this one, we're going to add product variations. So let's say, for instance, we went to the MP3 player. There's a good chance that there would be different sizes for this MP3 player, right? There could be a 16 gig one, a 32 gig, and even bigger. You could have these various variations. And they're really important when it comes to actually building an e-commerce site in general, because sometimes you'll have variations, sometimes you won't. But really, the way we're going to handle the shopping cart is going to be based off of the variations and not the product itself. So let's go ahead and create this variation. And something to think about with this as well is the variations are better than the inventory as a whole, right? So as the product as a whole, each variation is going to be better than that specific thing. So we'll say class variation, and this is going to be a model. So models.model. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to associate this variation to the product itself. So we'll say product equals to models.foreign-key, and it's going to be of product class. So this foreign key actually associates the variation to the product. And then we can give a title for the variation. So models.charfield, max length equals to 120. So actually we could pretty much copy most things that come with the product itself. We probably don't need a product variation description, but we can also put an inventory here and say models.integer field. And we could make it a positive integer field, but the reason I'm going to have integer field and allow for negative integers, because there is the possibility of positive integer field, we are going to have just integer field, and we're going to say default equals to -1. And -1 is going to refer to unlimited, so unlimited amount. So -1 means that they can have as many as they'd like. Another option for this would be to just have it blank refers to, so no inventory, null equals a true, blank equals a true. You could refer to that as refer none equal to a limited amount. So it's either way. So you could do -1 or none. So it's really kind of up to you. So if you wanted to leave it blank and make that means that there's unlimited, then that's the way you could go about doing it. For us, that's actually how we'll do it, is leave it, if it's none, then we'll leave it as an unlimited amount. The reason I mentioned the -1 is I've seen that done elsewhere. So it's clever because you can't have negative inventory actually, so anything negative would then mean that you have unlimited inventory. All right, so we can do that. So we've got our product title active. So active again, whether or not it's going to be shown up on anywhere. Okay, so if we need anything else, let's just kind of think of this for a second. We have price and we have active inventory. We might want to have something called sale price. So we'll just add an idea for that. So we have the original price and a sales price. So two prices that are just showing up here. If we do this two price thing, we'll have to actually create a method. So I'm going to first off do the Unicode or the string, depending on if you are using Python 3. And we'll return self.title, again, title of the variation. And now I want to do a method of define get price. No underscores there. So define get price of self. And what this is going to return is either the sell price or the regular price. So in this case, we're going to have the allow it to be null equals to true and blank equals to true, because the sale price, if it exists, if it's not none, then we should show that. So this is what we'll do, is if self.sale price is not none, return self.sale price. Else return self.price. And we'll see what this does later, but for now, that's kind of the gist of it. In this case, also with the variation, we don't actually need a absolute URL, but we can use the same as the product URL, or the product absolute URL. So if we wanted to have one, we would say get absolute URL of self, and this is just going to return self.product.getAbsolute URL, because it's really just going to be related to the specific product for this variation. Okay, so now that we've got this variation, let's actually add it into the admin as well before we even do the migrations and stuff. So we're going to import variation, and then we'll just do admin.site.register and variation. All right, so now let's close out our server, and we'll do python manage.py, make migrations because we made changes to the models, and then python manage.py migrate to actually make those changes happen, and then we'll run the server again. And back in the server, let's go ahead and go into the admin. And for variations, I'm going to add a new variation for our MP3 player, and I'll say 16 gigabytes is the variation, and let's just say it is $49.99. Say it's active, and I'll leave it blank for inventory, and then we'll make another variation for the same MVP player, and we'll do 250 gigs, and this one will say $99.99. Again, active, save. Cool. So we have two variations now for that product. If we go back into that product 1, MP3 player, we actually want to show these variations. So let's go into our product detail template. So product detail. And it's right here. So now we can do object.variationSet.all. And if we refresh in here, that gives us the query set for variations. We'll actually talk about query sets in the next one to see how you could do all sorts of things with query sets. But this is now giving us the different variations. So if I loop through them for variation in the variation set, I'm going to change that to var object, as in variation object, not variable object. In for, I'll call it var e just so it's not too confusing there. Then we could just do var e object, and it will show the different variations listed out, and that's great. So we could also put this into a choice item, so it like as in a drop down. With simply, if we jump back in, we'll just do select, close off select, and then we'll just say option value equals to. This will come in handy much later, but we might as well do it now just so we can have it there. And I'll add this value being varyOption.id. There we go. And the select, we can add a class of form-control. That is a Bootstrap class. If I refresh in here, I now see that I have the ability to select different variations in here for this product. So that's something with variations that's kind of nice. So you can have all sorts of variations for any individual product. Now, of course, this doesn't cover multiple variations for one specific product. So let's say, for instance, you had color and size. So that's something we'll have to account for, but we're not going to do that quite yet. But for now, we've got this. All right, so before we continue on to the next one, you might have noticed that the colors changed. A lot of the things about everything within this site changed, and all we did really was update our CSS. So in Static and Pro, we updated the navbar CSS to just have different colors, just so it looks a little bit different than the MVP landing. And then in our base, we changed the e-commerce 2 title head block, and then in our navbar, we also changed the image that was there to just e-commerce 2 text. And then finally on home.html, we changed the Jumbotron color as well if you logged out. Just something that you should know about. All right, so if you have any questions on why we're doing variations, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.